Home heating oil is a remarkably safe product when properly stored, delivered, and used. As oil heat professionals, it's our job to do all we can to prevent releases into the environment and to report and contain any and all spills that we encounter. Oil spills can lead to personal injury, environmental damage, and serious financial consequences. The ability and willingness to prevent releases and to properly and quickly respond to hazardous situations is one of the most important obligations of everyone in the oil heat industry. The purpose of this video is twofold: to familiarize you with the common causes of spills so that you can incorporate preventive measures into your work practices, and to inform you about the proper response procedures in the event of an oil release or spill. Let's get started by looking at the most common causes of oil spills. These include delivery to a tank that was not properly inspected before being approved for delivery, delivery to the wrong location resulting in an overfill of an already full tank, pumping oil into fill pipes not or no longer attached to a tank, blocked vent pipes and vents too far from the fill location, improper tank installation, improper filling techniques, improper service techniques, and finally, equipment failure. As we examine these causes one by one, consider your own delivery and service procedures. Ensure that you are doing all that you can to keep our environment secure and to maintain oil heat's reputation as a clean, safe, economical fuel. All too often, oil heat companies simply take an order for delivery to a new address over the telephone and dispatch a truck to fill the tank. NORA strongly recommends that all new customers' tanks and all new tanks at customer locations be thoroughly inspected before a delivery is made. Additional inspections should be performed as part of the system's routine preventive maintenance. The inspection should be documented, kept on file by your company, and cover the following: the tank's location. Is it above ground, underground, or in the basement? Many companies use a clock to show where the tank is located relative to the building. In this case, the number 1 indicates the front left side of the house, and the B indicates a basement tank. If the tank is accessible, check for the proper UL label. Make sure that any unused tappings are properly plugged. Your inspection should ensure that the tank gauge is properly installed. Use a good water finding paste to determine if there is any water present and measure the oil in the tank to verify the gauge's accuracy. If the tank is buried, measure the height of the tank as well as the oil level. Check the distance from the bottom of the tank to the floor or ground. It should be at least 6 inches. The tank must be at least 5 feet from the burner or other sources of fire or flame. Determine if the tank condition is satisfactory, including tank legs and pad or foundation. Check for any evidence of corrosion. If the tank is located in a flood-prone area, make sure it's securely mounted. Look closely for evidence of past oil stains or other evidence of leaks on the tank, floor, ground, or building. Is the fill pipe properly sized, in good condition, and made of the proper approved material? Remember, no PVC. Is it pitched toward the tank? Does the fill cap fit snugly? Is the fill positioned to avoid a buildup of water and snow? Is it properly piped to the exterior of the building? It needs to be at least 2 feet from openings and 5 feet from air inlets or flue gas outlets. Is the fill properly tagged? Use the same criteria while examining the vent pipe's condition, position, and construction. Make sure a vent alarm is installed and that the vent cap is in place, unobstructed, and in good condition. Check that the vent pipe is higher than the fill pipe and that the vent is also piped outside of the building, at least 2 feet from openings and 5 feet from air inlets or flue gas outlets. Now, turn your attention to the oil lines. Verify the proper material, line size, and whether or not they are encapsulated. Are they properly connected to the tank and to the burner? If the line is exposed to the elements, is it properly insulated? Make sure the tank shutoff is functioning properly. Is there an OSV valve installed? If there are any compression fittings, they should all be changed to flare fittings. Check that the oil filter is properly installed and note the type of filter. Check to see if fusible valves are properly located. And finally, be certain that all lines, fittings, filters, valves, accessories, and the pump are checked for oil leaks. That's the NORA recommended tank inspection checklist. It sounds like a lot of aggravation to do it right, doesn't it? But consider this. A delivery was made to a residence where the tank gauge had not been properly installed. Cleanup costs were $36,000. It is essential that before starting to fill, you always verify that you're delivering to the correct tank. Double-check the address. Remember that street is different from road, avenue, drive, and place. Remember, many towns have an Elm Street, Elm Avenue, Elm Court, and so on. Once you're sure that you're on the right street, verify that you're at the right house and at the right tank. Make certain the tank is in the location marked on the ticket. If in doubt, check with the customer or call your office. It's a good idea for companies to tag or otherwise identify their customers' fill pipes. Immediately identify and remove OK to deliver markings on tanks that are no longer associated with active customers. Consider this. A delivery was made to an incorrect address where the tank had just been filled. Cleanup costs were $150,000. Pumping into fill pipes not attached to a tank is an embarrassing and costly mistake that should never happen. When delivering to a new customer, always follow the complete tank inspection procedures discussed earlier. If you have the slightest doubt, investigate first, before you start the fill. Do you see anything that might indicate that the tank had been relocated or removed? Is there evidence of a new tank at the location or anything else that could indicate that the tank is no longer in use? Never remove material blocking a fill pipe or deliver to such a fill without double-checking first. Check with the customer if the fill pipe has cement, a rag, or other material in it. Measure buried tanks using a tank stick, water-finding paste, and the correct tank chart before filling. This gives you an idea of approximately how much oil the tank will take and helps to determine that the pipe is connected to an oil tank and not to a septic tank or well. Consider this. A delivery was made to a pipe connected to a septic system. The system backed up into the customer's house. Cleanup costs were more than $205,000. Blocked vent pipes and vents too far from the fill location can create major headaches. Relocate improperly positioned vent pipes, especially those out of sight from the fill. It's usually much less expensive and inconvenient than cleaning up after a spill. Always start to fill slowly until you hear the vent alarm. If you can't hear a whistle or if the whistle sounds obstructed, stop pumping immediately and check the vent cap and pipe for obstructions. NORA recommends a no whistle, no fill policy. Consider this. A delivery was made to an improperly vented tank, causing the tank to burst. The cleanup cost topped $35,000. Like everything else, there's a proper and improper way to install oil tanks. Every new tank should be installed in accordance with all applicable codes and regulations. These include manufacturer's instructions, local jurisdictional regulations, those of the underwriters' laboratories, and the National Fire Prevention Association's NFPA 31 standard for the installation of oil burning equipment. Fill and vent pipes must also conform to all applicable codes and regulations. All tanks should be equipped with a working vent alarm. When installing a replacement tank in a different location or taking a tank out of service, always remove the old fill and vent pipes. After a tank change, make sure that the customer's records are updated to reflect the new tank size and location. Consider this. A driver hooked up to a fill pipe that was no longer connected to an oil tank and pumped oil directly into a basement. Cleanup costs exceeded $200,000. Be sure to double-check and follow all delivery instructions. If the instructions say to deliver a specified number of gallons, set your meter accordingly. Fill at no more than 75 gallons per minute and turn off the nozzle as soon as the whistle stops. Stay at the fill throughout the delivery. Try to park in a location where you have clear sight of your truck while delivering. If you must park where your truck will be out of your line of sight, stop filling and check the truck every 5 minutes. Don't allow yourself to be distracted. Stop filling if a customer wants to talk to you, or you're concerned about an animal in the yard, or there's a noise that prevents you from hearing the vent alarm like a passing train or an air conditioner. Our environment and our industry can't afford anything less than your complete concentration at the fill. Consider this. During a delivery, a driver returned to his truck without shutting off the nozzle. He missed hearing the vent alarm whistle stop. The tank was overfilled and oil seeped into the sump pump. Cleanup cost to his company exceeded $60,000. We all know proper attention to service detail is important to the efficient operation of oil heating equipment, but it's also an essential environmental precaution. Here are some important do's and don'ts to help keep oil in the system where it belongs. Whenever possible, avoid using pressurized CO2 to clean blocked oil lines. First, try using a push-pull pump instead. Never reuse gaskets on oil pumps or filters. Always install a proper replacement gasket. Before completing a service call, double-check for leaks, especially at fittings, gaskets, and oil lines. Drain any oil collected during service calls into a separate container in your service vehicle. Drain that container into the proper receptacle your company provides for waste oil. Consider this. A leaking oil filter gasket resulted in a cleanup cost of over $12,000. We often accept equipment failure as something beyond our control. In fact, a proactive approach can significantly reduce the incidence of oil heat equipment failures. Having proper procedures in place can limit the consequences from those malfunctions. All fill and vent pipes and caps should be inspected for corrosion and leaks before each delivery. If the fill cap is equipped with a gasket, it should be checked and replaced when worn. The screen or strainer on the vent cap should also be checked and cleaned regularly to ensure proper venting. Oil heat pros always carry the nozzle to and from the delivery vehicle, and they never drag the nozzle on the ground. They also check the hose and nozzle regularly. Emergency shutoff valves on delivery vehicles should be closed between deliveries, even if the next delivery is right next door. If your customer has an aging oil tank, don't wait for it to leak before recommending a replacement. If there are unprotected oil lines under a concrete floor, they should be replaced with new lines using plastic sheathing or another form of secondary containment. New oil lines should be installed whenever a new burner, boiler, or furnace is installed. Let's review once again the most common causes of oil spills. An uninspected tank. Delivery to the wrong location. No tank connected to the fill. A faulty vent pipe. Improper tank installation. Improper filling techniques. Improper service techniques and equipment failure. Incorporating the procedures previously outlined into your daily routine will not only help to prevent oil spills, it will also help ensure the future of oil heat as the premier choice for home comfort. Now, what about when a spill does occur? What should you do? While state regulations vary, NORA's recommendations are clear. Any and all spills should be reported to your office immediately. The office should then notify any and all governmental and insurance agencies as required and arrange for any assistance you may need. All oil heat companies should have written emergency response procedures and qualified individuals available 24/7 to handle any emergencies. All delivery and service vehicles should have emergency spill information, equipment, and materials on board. No spill is too small to be cleaned up. According to the U.S. Coast Guard, a single quart of oil can create a 2-acre slick if it reaches water. That's equivalent in size to 3 football fields. If you're pumping 70 gallons per minute, you're pumping more than a quart every quarter of a second. Although a spill may seem to be minimal, notify your office immediately so that corrective actions can be taken as soon as possible. Remember, response time and cleanup expense are directly related. The longer you wait to report a spill, the more expensive it is to remedy. This isn't a time for guessing. Follow procedures. It's important to be as accurate as possible when reporting a spill to your office, so that help can arrive quickly with the right equipment and materials to remedy the situation effectively. Advise your office of both the current and the potential situations regarding the spill. Speak calmly, clearly, and stick to the facts. For example, the truck is leaking about 2 gallons a minute. Approximately 10 gallons has spilled and there are 1,800 gallons on board. Your accurate assessment is essential. Don't underestimate and have responders arrive expecting to clean up a 5-gallon spill while confronted with a situation hundreds of times worse. The first action you should take to deal with the spill is to ensure your personal safety. Do not do anything that puts you or anyone else in harm's way. Use all personal protection equipment available to you. Now, let's look at how to handle specific types of oil spills. If you notice that your vehicle is leaking oil, stay calm. Pull off the road as quickly as possible at the safest spot available. Do not stop on bridges or over drains, sewers, or anything else that might lead to water. If possible, select a spot that will help to contain the leak. Close the emergency shutoff. Assess the situation and notify your office. Set up your safety triangles. Put on your personal protective equipment and try to stop the leak. If there's a drip, put a bucket under it. Spread absorbent over the affected areas. Use your delivery hose, absorbent pads, oil absorbent, or dirt to make a berm if appropriate. Try to prevent other vehicles, animals, or people from traveling through the spill. Close off any catch basins, manholes, or other vertical access points in the area with a sheet of poly with sand or dirt on the edges. Stay with the vehicle until help arrives. If the hose develops a leak while pumping oil, stop delivering immediately. Close off the supply to the hose and notify your office. Follow the procedures outlined for safely containing the spill. If the tank, line, or fill pipe begins to leak, or if oil spews from the gauge or vent, stop delivering immediately. Notify your office and follow the preventive measures previously outlined. If oil spills from the vent pipe, the tank is definitely overfilled. If an inside tank has been overfilled, there's a good chance that oil has leaked inside the premises. Try to gain access and start containment procedures as soon as possible to minimize cleanup cost. As with outdoor spills, if you discover an oil leak inside a customer's building, stay calm and notify the customer and your office. Immediately eliminate all sources of ignition. Shut off the oil burner, pilot lights, and/or electronic ignition on any gas appliances in the area. Unplug any sump pumps. Put on your personal protective equipment. Stop the leak if you can do so safely. Contain the release using absorbent pads, oil absorbent, or dirt to make a berm if appropriate. Start at the outer perimeter and surround the spill with your containment. Then spread absorbent over the affected areas. If you run out, use kitty litter. Try to prevent animals and people from traveling through the spill. Avoid tracking oil outside the immediate area of the spill. Try to prevent contact with porous surfaces. Close off any catch basins, floor drains, or other vertical access points in the area. Open outside basement or boiler room windows and doors to ventilate the area. Close all doors and openings that can allow vapors to travel to other areas of the home. Safely continue cleanup and containment procedures until help arrives. Now, let's review what we've just seen. It's our responsibility as oil heat professionals to prevent oil releases and to minimize the risks to people, property, and the environment. Never place yourself or anyone else in danger by reacting without thinking. Stay calm and be safe. It's critical that you accurately report any and all leaks or spills to your office. If possible, safely stop the leak and confine the spill. Remember, the best spill prevention is our own professionalism. Doing our job by the book and paying attention to the equipment we use in service will keep the oil in the tanks where it belongs.